Michigan Republicans in the state Senate have released their plan for election reform in 2022. What's in their plan? What elements have merit? What elements don't? What elements are missing? We're going to answer those questions, but first, who am I? I'm Adam D'Angeli, political and legislative consultant and founder of the Rescue Michigan Coalition, where we're organizing for the grassroots in Michigan to have effective election reform and restore liberty for the people of Michigan. If you like this kind of content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this information, especially with others who are concerned about fair elections. For a deeper dive into this, we recently recorded a 3-hour Zoom meeting where we read through the entire proposal page by page. So I'll put a link in the description, but in this video, we're going to go through just the basics. You can also visit rescuemichigan.com and find our written analysis on each of the bills there. So let's get right down to it. This is the Rescue Michigan Coalition webpage. You can visit us online at rescuemichigan.com. And if you want to find this article with the analysis of the State Senate Republican election reform plan, just go to the homepage and then under the Articles tab, click on Election Reform. And you'll find this article right here where we go through each of the 39 bills. So we'll look at a few of them right now, some of the most important ones. This is probably my favorite in the entire package. This is Senate Bill 285. And this bill would require that all absentee voters, and I think also all voters at the polls on Election Day, but most importantly, all absentee voters must provide or attach a copy of their ID when they apply for an absentee ballot. And that's an extremely important safeguard on the integrity of absentee ballots, that the voter actually requests them themselves and that they actually return them themselves. So this is a great bill. This is sponsored by Senator Tice, so check that out. That's Senate Bill 285. Next, we have Senate Bill 276. And this one allows for the video recording of proceedings in an election. As long as they're not videotaping voters, they're allowed to document evidence of what goes on at the proceedings. So if poll challengers are unlawfully impeded, as happened all across the board in Michigan in November 2020, they'll be able to document that evidence for the record. So that's an extremely important component. That's in Senate Bill 276. This is Senate Bill 284, which requires a uniform signature verification policy. If you've been keeping up with the news, you might know that the Michigan Court of Claims recently held that the Secretary of State's policy for signature checks was held to be unlawfully enacted. She pretty much just issued an order saying that they can pretty much assume that all signatures are valid. If there's any reason whatsoever to think they're valid, to go ahead and consider them valid. The Court of Claims said, no, you didn't go through the rulemaking process. You need to have a uniform signature verification standard. So that's Senate Bill 284. Next up, we've got Senate Bill, 308, Senate Bill 308. And this bill would require signature verification training for all county, city, and township clerks and for all precinct inspectors. Those are poll workers, complying with the rules promulgated by the Secretary of State. That's where she goes through the whole process to ensure that we have meaningful signature checks. So those are two very important provisions on maintaining the integrity of the ballot. Number one, that the people who are applying for their absentee ballots actually are the people that they say they are, and that they have a uniform standard for signature checks. Those are some of the best of the bills, but there's a lot more to them. So again, you can go to rescuemichigan.com. You can look at our analysis of all 39 bills, as well as lots of other great content. So please check out rescuemichigan.com. Now, however, there are some elements of our own plan. We put out our election reform plan, and a lot of the things that they had in the Senate proposal, we have in ours as well. And they're certainly to be praised for the things that they did have in their plan. However, there are some elements in ours that we think would be an important part of any strong election reform plan. So going down through some of the different things that we have in here, one of the most important things is requiring that all poll workers be trained to understand that impeding poll challengers in Michigan is a felony. That would go a long way toward preventing them from doing what they did in November 2020, which was commit criminal felonies every time that they unlawfully obstructed poll challengers from being able to document the evidence. Another important element of our plan is the requirement that they actually have a meaningful selection of the individuals who become the poll workers themselves. So let me just scroll to the right spot here. This is, let's see here. Here we go. The individuals that get first preference for being hired as poll workers are those that the parties actually ask them to hire. Right now in Michigan, there actually is a requirement in law that they must appoint as best they can an equal number of poll workers from both of the two major parties. And that's an important safeguard on the election process because it is, after all, an adversarial process in which two parties are competing for power. So it's important that they're both represented to make sure they both do the right thing. Unfortunately, because we don't have partisan voter registration in Michigan, it's easy for anybody just to claim that they're a member of one party or the other. And there's almost never an easy way for them to be determined not to be, because there isn't partisan voter registration. So under our provision, they would have to give first priority in hiring to the people that the parties themselves actually say, hey, these are the people we'd want to be poll workers. And that's an important way to prevent, like what happened in Detroit in November 2020. They brought in actually a large number of minors, underage children, to be election inspectors. And who knows what party affiliation they put down or whether they even pretended to have a partisan balance at the polls. But it seems apparent from the eyewitness testimony that the poll workers in the city of Detroit and probably elsewhere had a certain partisan balance that they're really not supposed to have. So this is an important element to ensure that there's actual partisan balance among the hiring of poll workers. Another important provision in our bill, and I'm sure it's here somewhere, is the actual integrity of the ballots themselves, that they should have security features on them so that they can't easily be forged. That's an important part of the absentee ballot process to ensure that people aren't somehow counterfeiting ballots. There was actually a story in the New York Post where they interviewed someone who was a professional election fraudster, a criminal who would intercept ballots, and they would actually steam open the envelopes and replace them with their own. It's important that our currency have those kind of security features on it for obvious reasons. But in an election, billions and billions, and even in the national level, trillions of dollars are in the balance. So it's important that our ballots actually have security features too. So these are provisions that are not in the Senate proposal, and we certainly encourage them to be added to whatever proposal they're developing, because the most likely next step of this is going to be to enact some of these through a citizen-initiated law, which is the only way in Michigan you can pass a law that is not subject to the governor's veto, and that can take effect before the 2022 election. So we did look at the Senate proposal a little bit, and there are several items in there that are very, very good and would make a big impact on the election. There are, however, some other provisions that we want to be a little concerned about. So let's look at this one. This is Senate Bill 300. And this bill actually creates an early election day. According to this bill, every city or township must provide early voting at least one polling place open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the Saturday 10 days before Election Day. So you're creating a whole additional election day with everything that requires, from poll workers to poll challengers, poll books, instructions, security systems, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be a lot of time, a lot of expense. And every time an election is made more complicated, you have not only more opportunities for fraud, but also more of a burden on each of the campaigns. And the more complicated an election gets, the more difficult it is for the average Joe to run for office, because all the election procedures they have to be on top of. They have to have election day operations. They have to have an absentee chase. And the more complicated the election process is, the more resources a campaign needs to be able to navigate those waters effectively. So this is one of the bills in that proposal. And this bill, I don't know where it came from or whose idea it was, but this might not be the best thing to improve the quality of Michigan elections. Another bill, this is Senate Bill 311. And this bill provides that overseas uniformed services voters have the ability to submit their ballot electronically. Now, in and of itself, by itself, that might not be such a bad thing, but this is opening the door by creating a process for the processing of electronic ballots. So it's a kind of a political cliche to call it a slippery slope, but the fact is, once there's already a process in place, the next step is to say, oh, why don't we even need these paper ballots? We have a process already for people to turn in their ballots electronically. And paper ballots are actually the most important safeguard for clean elections, that there is a verifiable paper trail that ballots can be recounted. So there's another bill, probably has the best of intentions, but creating a process where they can accept ballots returned electronically is a Pandora's box that we probably don't want to open. Finally, this is another bill. This is Senate Bill 274, and these are all part of the 39 bill proposal. This is a bill to allow people to pre-register to vote at age 16, even though they won't be able to vote until they're 18. It's under current law. They're allowed to register when they're 17 and a half years of age. They just can't actually show up at the polls to vote until they've turned 18. And this creates a whole process for getting people pre-registered to vote. So this is going to create burdens on government to get people registered even earlier. What purpose this serves in protecting the elections, it's hard to see, hard to envision. As it is, people have 6 months before they reach age of majority to register to vote. So why they're starting the process even earlier at 16 years of age, It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, and why this is in this proposal beats me. So that's it. That's the short version. If you want to find out more, please visit rescuemichigan.com. You can click on the article's election reform link right here. You can also go to the action tab, click on election reform, and you'll see what our proposal is. You can read our election reform plan. It's right here at this link. If I just click here, you can scroll through it, and you can see we made a lengthy video going through our plan line by line. You can read the entire proposal right here. So check that out, rescuemichigan.com. So thanks everybody for watching. Hope this has been informative, educational, and I hope you put this information to use. It's going to be a very exciting and interesting and turbulent year and a half before the next election. So we're going to do everything that we can to get the policy right. So by all means, check this out. And again, visit rescuemichigan.com if you like content like this. Sign up, join our group, and stay in touch. So thanks all for watching. Have a good one.